Hello everybody. In this video we are going to talk about error handling using assertion, using showing error messages and throwing error messages basically. So let's take a look. Now in order to use the assert, you need to use the library assert. Okay, so keep that in mind. What I'm doing is I'm going to ask for a number. Actually, in this case, I don't need this y. Let's get rid of it. I ask for a number x, and I'm going to return the square root of that. But the number the user is going to give me should be positive integer. If it is, no problem, I show the square root. If it's negative, then my program has to do something about it, right? And there are several ways that you can handle it. The first one is you show an error message, and it's not really an error message, it's just showing something to the user. And basically, when you do that using the command cerr, right, you show that, hey, I received a negative value. And since it's inside if else, then the second part, which is showing the square root, is not going to happen. And if there is anything after this if else, of course, that is going to run. So when the command cerr basically is executed, it's not going to stop the rest of the code from running. Whatever is below cerr, it is going to run. In this case, this one is not going to run just because it's inside if else. But this guy here says end of the program, this is going to run. So let me show you that. If I go ahead and enter a positive number, no worries. It shows me the square root and it shows end of the program. Now, if I type in a negative number, you see it says receive negative value. It also shows that end of program. So it shows me this as well. It shows me this, right? So it just notifies me with something, but it's not gonna break the code for me. And you might be tempted to say, well, I put a break after this cerr and break the code. Guess what? You cannot do it. If it's a switch statement, you can do it. If it's a loop, you can do it, but you cannot break out of if else using the break command. If you activate this command, you are going to get what? An error. Just keep that in mind. Break is not going to work on what? On the if else command, right? So keep that in mind. This is not going to work for you. So here you might say, well, if this all this one does is to show an error, show some message on the screen, well, why can't I use cout? Because they seem to be doing the same job. You're right. In that term, in terms of displaying something on the screen, they are doing the same job. So what's the difference? The difference is this. The cerr command is what we call unbuffered or immediate. Cout, when you want to show something, it goes to buffer, right? So it has to wait until the current code running goes on and finishes. Then cout is going to display the message. But cerr is not going to wait for anything. As soon as this command is executed, it is going to show the error, even though something in parallel is running. So this is much faster and much more immediate compared to cout. Okay, so keep that in mind. This is the cerr command, that it's not going to break the rest of the code, but it is fast, much faster than what? Much faster than cout. If you want to stop the rest of the code from running, there are other ways that you can do it. One of them is the assert command. So what is assert? Assert basically says, hey, I have some condition for this input x, and the condition is x has to be bigger than 0. If it is, go ahead and run the rest of the code. If it is not, I'm gonna break the code, right? So that is what assert does. It is gonna terminate the code if the condition it wants is not satisfied. And as I said, you have to use assert library for that. Look what assert does. So here I give it a negative number. Look, immediately says, hey, assertion failed, and it does not let you display this or display this end of the program. You see, so assert is going to affect the execution of the rest of the code immediately. It's not going to let it go. That is a second method of handling errors. And then there is another method of basically handling errors, and that is the throw. What is this one? So here you say if x is less than 0, then go ahead and throw a runtime error for me and say, hey, I received a negative value. The same thing that you said over here with the cerr command, but what's the difference? Let's take a look. It's the exact same structure as the top one, right? But you might ask whether this end of the code, this says end of the program, which is outside that if-else structure, is this going to run if I throw a runtime error? Well, let's go ahead and do it. So here we do it again. And again, this time we say -4, and look. You see, terminated the code because of runtime error, and the runtime error, what was it? It was I received a negative value. So you see, when you throw a runtime error, also the rest of the code will not be executed. That acts the same as the assert command, basically, right? And the cerr is different. So these are 3 different ways that I wanted to show you to handle errors. Hopefully the video was useful to you. I'll see you in my next lecture.